The Saints continue rolling in free agency and have found a replacement for Demario Davis. What do you know? It's former Saint Kaden Elliss, whom the team probably shouldn't have let slip away to Atlanta in the first place. What grade would you give the team so far, and will they make any more splashes? Also, there have been some weird happenings in free agency so far, and even in the trade world, where the Ravens told the Las Vegas Raiders, we were just joking. Y'all going to have Maxx Crosby back. Was it all a bunch of BS? And did they have buyer's remorse instead? They did go out and get Trey Hendrickson after they reneged. We'll have plenty of breaking news this morning, and we'll pick the brain of another first-time guest as WWL-TV's Ricardo LeCompte is here. Who knows? Oh, yeah. But also, don't forget, Dat Date in history. We should have fun today. What year are we going back to? We'll find out. Who knows what will happen on the Dattitude podcast? But I do know there's no better way to find out than to press this doohickey here. Let's see what this does.
Ready to hear the straight scoop on local and national sports? It's time for Jim Derry's take on the Saints, LSU, what betting lines to ponder, and more. He's got opinions, he's got insight, and he's got Dattitude. And he'll always tell you the way it is, or at least the way he thinks it is.
Where you at, Dattitude family? Voices semi getting back to normal. We are hopefully won't cough as much as we coughed on Monday. Everything will be right with the world. We won't lose subscribers and whatever else. But first, how pissed would you be if you were a Raiders fan this morning? Or a Ravens fan this morning? Or any of those? The Ravens, what the hell's going on? We're going to get to all that. We're going to have fun with everything that happened and see if we can have another. It won't be as active as Monday, but we'll see if we can have another active live Dattitude episode number 482 presented by Evangeline Securities for a Wednesday, March the 11th, 2026. I'm your host, Jim Derry. 35 and a half years in the New Orleans sports media scene. I thank you for spending part of your day with us every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, live at 11 a.m. Central Time. Welcome to the Dat family. And while we're talking this morning here, we might as well, we'll show you our Dat members. And you can become a Dat member. We'll tell you how in just a minute. What is on today's show? All sorts of stuff. It's going to be a mostly Saints kind of show, Saints-centric for sure. We're going to talk about Kaden Elliss coming back to the Saints. I asked this question yesterday in my Facebook page and in a roundabout sort of way when I did my short, but is this enough for the people who absolutely adored and loved, most people adored and loved Demario Davis? Okay. We still don't know exactly what happened, but is this enough to make you at least feel a little bit better about the situation? Or are you still pissed? Or you say, you know what? The Saints did the right thing getting younger, and this is a huge bonus and a major step in the right direction. What is the linebacking core going to look like? Is it still a big need? Do the Saints change their thinking about where they're going to go in the draft? All sorts of things to ask with first-time guest Ricardo LeCompte is on the show today. I've been trying to get Ricardo on for a little bit now, and I finally figured out when to get him on. Glad he's going to be here this morning. So that is 2 Wednesdays in a row we got first-time guests. I'm always fun when we have first-time guests. So Ricardo will be a fun one. I was on the WWL podcast a couple months ago. I told you about it. We had I was on with Ross Jackson, Doug, Ricardo was on there, and we had drinks on the set. Maybe we should start doing that here on Dattitude. I don't know exactly how that would work, but maybe Gabe and I will start drinking on the set. Who knows? We'll see what. I can't even fathom Gabe Henderson. Do you drink at all, Gabe? I don't even know. He doesn't drink at all, he says. That would be, y'all don't want to see me drunk. I haven't been drunk in a while. Not even in Endymion this past year. It's probably been, I bet it's been 2 years since I've been overserved. Probably something close to that, for sure. Anyway, y'all don't want us drinking on the set. We don't know what the hell would happen if that were the case. But we're going to have a lot of fun this morning. And then, of course, on Friday, coming up Friday, Zach Ewing will be with us as he is every Friday. A couple of serious notes here this morning, or at least a dedication or two. This show, first of all, on a very somber note, I found out yesterday that about a week and a half ago, most of y'all know, or the regulars know, that I lost my sister. I have 2 sisters. They're both younger than me, but one I lost about almost 7 years ago. She passed away in June of 2019, but found out yesterday that her ex-husband had passed away in late February. So a little less than 2 weeks ago, I think. So we're going to dedicate this show to Michael McBride today. And just was sorry to hear that. I hadn't talked to him much since my sister passed, a couple times. But was very sorry to hear the news of his passing. And then on I guess a happier note in a way, today would have been my grandparents' 102nd anniversary. Is that crazy? They were married on March 11th, 1924. My grandfather passed away in 1995 at the age of 92. My grandmother also was 92 when she passed away in 1999. So they've been gone for a while. But Mama and Papa, this show is for you. And kind of a very strange coincidence. I know this isn't so much for people of Gabe's age, but people of my age kind of associate things with phone prefixes. Like, if you live in New Orleans and my phone prefix growing up was 393, you knew that was from the West Bank. But my grandparents were 482. Okay, their number was 482. It doesn't matter what the rest of it was. And so it's just kind of interesting. We always, my close family, my cousin and my sister and I, we always talk about 482 this and 482 that when we talk about our grandparents. So it just so happens, and it did not plan this, it's to show you the weird coincidences of life. My grandparents' 102nd wedding anniversary is on episode number 482. So I don't know if I've told y'all this before. Again, for regulars know this. I believe in those sorts of things, and I don't think they're coincidences. But some people don't. I know like the Zach Ewings of the world don't believe in that stuff, but I absolutely do. And I think even if it is a weird coincidence, so be it isn't it weird coincidence. All right, let's get to the show part of things here this morning. Again, Ricardo is going to come on about 11:30. So we got a lot to talk about before then. So you know what? Let's get to the business part of this show. I hope y'all don't mind. And then we're going to get to some comments before we start talking about all sorts of things this morning. NFL free agency, breaking news this morning. News that you already know that's not necessarily breaking. Maxx Crosby. What a crazy the Maxx Crosby story is first of all, it's not over. Is he going to get dealt today? Gabe will be monitoring the wires. Will he get traded? Gabe doesn't think so. I know a lot of people do think so, but if you're another team out there, wouldn't you like to see the Raiders just kind of implode? I mean, they're kind of screwed now. I think they're going to have to. They're going to have to do something. I mean, they don't have. I think they made these moves based on what the money was going to be without Maxx. I don't know. Anyway, we'll get to that. That's coming up. We'll talk Maxx Crosby. We'll talk about other free agency. There's a huge, if you didn't see it, you might have seen it already happened about 20, 30 minutes ago, maybe a little bit longer than that. $100 million contract. That's coming up. Also, we'll just talk generally, whatever y'all want to talk about, other moves that happened around the NFL. But first, we remind you, if you have not yet subscribed to the YouTube channel, please do so. We would love you to be a part of the Dat family. And later on, this costs nothing to subscribe. We appreciate if you want to be a part of the Dat family. Later on, if you would like to support the channel financially and support independent journalism, we'd appreciate it if you would consider becoming a member. If you want to talk to me after the show and you couldn't get your comment or your question in, or you saw something you want to comment, as so many people do, you can either email me, jim@jimderry.com, or you can find me on X, @JimDerry Jr. All right, before we get to the rest of the show, as we told you, let me tell you about our friends at Evangeline Securities. Of course, they're a company that can help you decide if it's the right time to sell your family-run or privately held business. And just as importantly, they can figure out what that business is worth. That's someone you know, someone you love, someone you just want to help out. It's time for them to reach out to Evangeline's founding partner, Nick Braden. You can help them do that. He will start by scheduling a complimentary valuation from their offices, either on Poydras Street or in Lafayette. From there, you'll be well informed to begin to make the decision on if you want to proceed. What happens after that? We'll fill you in more later in the show. In the meantime, you can check them out at www.evangelinesecurities.com. You can also check out my friend, Joe DiStefano.
If you own a small business of fewer than 20 employees, you know how tough it is to get the best rates on health insurance. That's why you want to call Joe DiStefano Insurance. Joe and I have known each other for almost 40 years. I can tell you that he's someone that I trust. Look, health insurance shouldn't be one size fits all, and with Joe DiStefano, you get access to PPO networks and flexible plans designed to fit you, not just a cookie cutter mold. Joe's licensed, he's local, but he can help you no matter where you live and operate. From preventative care to peace of mind, we'll tailor a plan that works for your life today and tomorrow. Call Joe DiStefano at 504-234-2132 to protect what matters most.
All right, on with the show, everybody. What's first? You know what's first? Gabe Henderson is first. He says he thinks the Raiders will be fine. The Cat Nerds were shoved into an Allegiant Stadium closet last night, and they couldn't come out until the situation was resolved. Maybe that's true, but still, trying to figure out that much cap to redo is quite a task. We'll see what happens. Rocky's here. Hump day. It is hump day indeed. Jerry's here. What's going on? Everybody, the Dattitude family. The Saints are not playing around, he says. Absolutely. A-Town, good morning. It's a happy day to be a Saints fan. Absolutely. Rocky also says the Titans overpaid for Alontae Taylor. We're going to get to Alontae Taylor. He's part of some things here in my monologue. A-Town still hoping Jeremiyah Love will be available for us at the 8 pick. Do the Saints still go after Jeremiyah Love? That's something we will ask Ricardo what he thinks. I know a lot of people are saying, okay, now it's time to go to defense. You know what corner I'm in? If you've watched one other show in the last, 2 months, you know who I think the Saints should get at number 8. I get they got ATN. If they go out and get Jeremiyah Love, what does that do? I mean, I get it. They got Alvin Kamara too, but you gotta be able to find room for there. We'll see. Gabe says he doubts he'll be there at 8. That's why the Saints and Chiefs went heavy in front. I'm not so sure. I don't necessarily think that's why they did it. If you were to tell me that Jeremiyah Love, if you could guarantee that Jeremiyah Love was going to be there at 8, and I'm the Saints, I 100% still make the move. I think they got a friendly deal with ATN. I think it was a good deal. Basically $13 million a year. I mean, look, Kenneth Walker went for 15. I get it that some people think that's high for a running back. I don't necessarily think so. And maybe I'm a less bullish on whether AK is coming back. I've been reading a lot of things and hearing a lot of things that make me think maybe he's not coming back. Maybe I was a little high when I said now that they redid his deal that it's 85%. They don't lose anything by bringing him back, but they could trade him. I mean, his deal's a little bit more friendly to me. I don't know what's going to happen there. I got to be honest. I don't know what's going to happen with Alvin Kamara. And if Jeremiyah Love, A-Town, and answer your question, I think if he's there at 8, and a lot of people don't think he will. I mean, I think the vast majority of people, and it's March 11th. Things change all the time. Again, you go back to this time last year, and Shedeur Sanders was going to be a top 5 pick, right? No. He was barely a top 5 round pick. Chad Gage is here. Good morning. It is a good day for the Hoodatins. Absolutely it is. Kyle Sherman. All great Dattitudinals. Am I healed up now? Not quite, but I'm getting there. I'm on the healing. I am better than I was Monday and certainly better than I was at the end of last week. But this nastiness is nothing to play around with. I think last night was the first decent night sleep. I'm say decent night. I mean, I only slept for 5 hours, but probably the first sleep without without being interrupted, I guess. I slept from 1 to 6 without being interrupted, without waking up so that's a start. Brian Cavett, morning. Mad Max thing is wild. It is. Apathy says he didn't expect Cam Jordan to still be here by Wednesday. You know what that tells me, Apathy? Tells me there isn't a huge market out there for Cam Jordan. I mean, will he still be here on Friday? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. Adam Varner says, good morning, Dattitude. Loomis is cooking. He sure is. Nobody's complaining about Mickey Loomis this morning, are they? Good morning. It has been a wild week. We're going to come back to the comments. We got plenty of comments. Those are just the first ones. But I do want to get into and get your opinions on Maxx Crosby and the craziness that, look, I know the majority of people, we're all jumping to conclusions and just bashing the Ravens. I'm not saying I'm not saying the Ravens deserve to be held over a fire, but let's talk about the people that my son sent me this last night. I didn't realize this, how many people they lost. But here's the the list of people that they've lost. They've lost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 players to free agency. Okay? And so Ravens fans were already kind of ticked off at them for, don't get me wrong, they probably love having Maxx Crosby. To give up 2 first-round picks and all the money they're going to have to spend on Maxx Crosby and lose all these players. There are some of these players, who cares? Brent Urban, Taven Bryan. But some of these players are probably pissed off about. Linderbaum, I mean, they knew they were going to lose him. They couldn't spend that kind of money. But Patrick Ricard is going to follow his old coach, going to the Giants. Isaiah Likely, both their tight ends. Charlie Kolar. I mean, Uwuzie's gone. Draymond Jones gone. D-Hop's gone. Kyle Van Noy. Joseph Noteboom. I mean, the Ravens might be a mess. So when you talk about where they're going, we'll see. I mean, maybe they won't be. Maybe they'll be okay. I will say this. I think that division is definitely taking a step back. I don't know who's going to win that division as we sit here. I don't think any of those teams are really good. I mean, you would think that Cincinnati's probably the most talented overall, but their defense kind of stinks. I mean, the Browns are the Browns. I don't care if they get a new coach. I don't know what the hell they're doing on offense. Their defense is great. I don't know what they're doing on offense. I mean, the Steelers, we don't know what they're doing right now. So maybe the Ravens are still the best team by default. I don't know. But if I were a Ravens fan right now, I could tell you I'd be a little aggravated. I'd be a little perturbed. So, look, Trey Hendrickson going to the Ravens. Gabe says that the Hendrickson signing proves it was a nasty move by the Ravens. I don't necessarily think that. I mean, they could have signed Hendrickson. They could have not made the trade if they wanted Hendrickson a week ago. They could have said, that's where we're going. And they didn't do that. They went after Maxx Crosby and made a trade. And whether they had buyer's remorse or whether we don't know what their physical showed. I would hope they would be open and honest about it and tell us. They may or may not. I don't know. So I'm going to ask Ricardo what he thinks about this, and it may come up when Gabe comes on later. We'll see. Whatever Gabe wants to talk about. But that will be interspersed throughout the day. But, I mean, how pissed off are you if you're a Raiders fan? I mean, you were getting 2 first-round draft picks. You had your team set. Now you got to go through and figure out the cap situation because you spent $300 million in a day. I mean, that just goes to show you, by the way, how wild free agency is today. You're spending $300 million in a day. So who are you more pissed off? Put this in the comments. Who are you more pissed off if you're a Ravens fan or you're a Raiders fan? Which one are you more pissed off about? I'm going to ask people what they think about that. And then there's always, when we're talking about free agency, how about the goddamn Jets? I mean, come on, man. I mean, why would Demario Davis? I mean, why would he want to go to that mess? They trade for Geno Smith. They go back to Geno. Somebody showed a list of quarterbacks, and I wish I would have printed it out. I had so much going on today. And by the way, you're going to love the Dat Date in history segment today. We're going to have fun with it again. I'm not going to tell you what year it is, but it does start with 19, but it will be a fun Dat Date later in the show. If you saw the segment on Monday, we can do it again at the end of today's show. But somebody had put a list of the quarterbacks that the Jets have had since Geno Smith had left and came back, and it's absurd. It's like, I don't know, it was like 20 names. It was incredibly insane. So that may come up later as well. And then lastly, before I kind of want to move on a little bit and get back to your comments, because we've got about 10 minutes, and I want to spend like 8 minutes here talking about you showing your comments before we get to Ricardo. But did you see these ESPN free agent grades? They're all over the place. This is why these grades and mock drafts and everything else, it's opinion. We have fun with it, okay? And look, this show is an opinion show. And I love by the way, when people, I had someone message me last week and say, I don't even know why you're saying this kind of stuff. You really don't know. This is an opinion show, dude. Just so I don't want to give ESPN too much grief when I'm about to say all these things are opinions, but Some of these grades they're given, they give Wan'Dale Robinson a B+ in free agency. They give Etienne a C-. Make it make sense. Make Etienne's grade a C-. I'm not a homer. I mean, anybody who's watched the show more than 3 or 4 times knows I'm not a homer. I didn't get the moniker Derry Downer for a reason. Okay. I tell it the way that it is, or the way that I think that it is. And in no world is the signing of Etienne a C-. It's a bare, I mean, at worst, it's a B-. I'd give it much better than that. I'd give it a B+ or an A-. Wan'Dale Robinson's a B+. Malik Willis, and I know Gabe's probably going to disagree with Malik Willis, an A. Are you insane? Malik Willis, an A? I'd give it a C-, okay? But at best, I think you can give it a B-. You're talking about a dude that wasn't good when he was with Tennessee, was drafted to be their starter, never could pull off the role, goes to Green Bay as a backup, has 3 good games as a backup, and all of a sudden he's going to be the savior of a franchise. What makes him better than Tua? Nothing. That's a franchise that's going the wrong way. I can tell you that right now. The Miami Dolphins are just a mess. Gucci. Just saying. So I don't know. Some of these great. That's why I look at these things and I don't even want to. Sometimes I just I look at like 2 of them and I swipe up. By the way, they gave David Edwards an A-. I could have sworn that was lower when I first looked at it, but it says A- this morning. Shaheed, if you didn't see this, Rashid Shaheed going back to the Seahawks, they gave that a B-. They got this one right. They gave Alontae Taylor to Tennessee a C-. I'd actually give it a D-. I'm sorry, but Alontae Taylor is not worth $20 million. And when we talk about Saints, whether they can re-sign people or whatever, I think the Saints did the right thing, and we could see now why Alontae Taylor was never coming back here. There was no way in hell the Saints were paying $20 million for Alontae Taylor. However, again, does this change where the Saints need to go in free agency? I mean, not in free agency, in the draft. We'll ask Ricardo what he thinks. All right. And then lastly, I'm going to talk about this with Gabe, so I'm not going to spend too much time this morning on it. The U.S., did you see and I didn't know this. Gabe actually told me this. I didn't see this last night. But apparently, the United States lost last night in the World Baseball Classic to Italy, 8-6. Made a great comeback, by the way. They almost made it back. Aaron Judge kind of, with the pooch, got up there with a chance to really help the Americans, and like he's done in the playoffs many times, kind of choked. But now with the loss, the Americans need either Italy to win tonight against Mexico, or they need Mexico to score 6 runs with these stupid tiebreaker rules. By the way, Mexico's a huge favorite, so you probably need Mexico to score 6 runs with these weird tiebreakers. That's probably what you're looking at. And again, I didn't know this, but Gabe told me apparently manager Mark DeRosa thought that the Americans had clinched already, and so he sat many of his starters. Say what? How could you not know you didn't clinch? And how could you not go out to I mean, even if you had clinched, it's baseball. Why wouldn't you go out there and put your best starters in there and best players in there? Anyway, we'll talk about that later on with Gabe after Ricardo's on. Again, we got about 6 minutes to get to comments. Adam says he gives his Saints a solid A in free agency. Definitely grab needs. I'm probably in the A. I'm going to give him an A- about now. Somewhere around there. I mean, A is fair. I mean, I think B+ would be fair. But I think they've done really well, and they've done a fantastic job. I always talk about kicking the can. Some people hate when I say kicking the can, but I think they've done a good job with these contracts without necessarily kicking the can too far. So personally, I'm pretty happy with what they've done so far. Nathan Thomas, good morning. Nice start to free agency. I think he means punter. Gabe, y'all got yourself a punter. Did you see that? Saints made a trade with the Texans. Kai Kroger. That's right. He was traded to the Texans. The Saints got more than a box of rocks, which is for a guy that I can't believe anybody wants. Gabe told me yesterday that part of it was because the Texans have a history with Kroger that he tried out there. Well, and my response to that was I wish they would have signed him when they tried him out because he was terrible here. He was literally the worst punter in the league. I mean, he was terrible. Anyway, that's kind of funny. Yeah, Nathan, you're right. Stephen Dixon, good morning. William Hester, the Ravens should be investigated. I mean, for what? This is not the first time. This is not the first time that some team has gone out and reneged on a deal because their physical failed. It's not the first time, and it won't be the last. Malcolm Alonzo, thank you so much for the $10 super sticker for the donation. We appreciate you so much. If you got a comment in there, I'll get to you in just a minute. Thank you so much, Malcolm, for the donation. We appreciate everyone who has helped our channel out. So I don't know. I mean, Calvin says the Ravens can't be too pissed. They got Trey Hendrickson. Yeah. Look, I know a lot of them, they probably aren't pissed, but the whole Maxx Crosby thing, look, I don't know how pissed I would be if I was a Raiders fan. I mean, you can't be all that pissed in the grand scheme of things. You're getting Maxx Crosby back. Now, if they have to dump one of these free agents that they signed, I don't know what's going to happen there. Okay, we'll find out. I don't want to start talking about something that I'm not 100% sure. I don't know because I don't 100% understand it. I was told yesterday that if they can't rework the cap properly, they're going to have to. Remember, the deals aren't final until today at 4 o'clock. So they still can, or 3 o'clock Central, I think. So they still, I mean, you don't, the ink's not dry until later this afternoon. So if they can't find another suitor for Maxx Crosby and they can't figure the cap situation out, they're going to have to work something out. They're going to have to do something. Thank you so much. $20 super chat. He wants me to put this towards Mickey getting a raise. Oh, boy. UBN, stirring the pot for $20. $20 will let you stir the pot. What else we got here? Yes, it is hump day. Brian Cavett says it was a B-, and then Ellis made it an A-. If they can find a value defensive back, edge, or a wide receiver, it will be an A. Fair enough. He also says he wants to see a photo of Loomis in the building. All credit goes to see. Here's what I'm talking. Or all credit goes to Ireland. This is what I'm talking about, y'all. And I know you're being funny in a way, but nobody wants to give credit to Mickey when he does well. I don't say nobody. That's the wrong way to put it. But you don't want to give credit to Mickey when he does well, but you certainly want to give him grief. Come on, man. Just say he did a good job. That's all you got to do. He's certainly done bad jobs at different times in the past, but Mickey Loomis has done a fantastic job with this. Just saying. Y'all got to be mean. You know, making me choke. Jimmy Rosen's here on what started out as a bad day on Monday. Excuse me. Turned out to be a pretty good week. I don't know if it turned out to be a bad day. I mean, I guess if you're talking about Demario Davis being gone, again, we told you why he was gone. It was the right move. William Hester says his offseason has gone far too well. What time is Olave starting his painful holdout? I don't think he's going to hold out. I think if they don't, my opinion, and I don't know this, but my opinion is if he doesn't get a deal, I mean, he's getting $15 million this year, he'll be fine. If he doesn't get a deal soon, he'll just play out his contract and then go be a free agent and get paid next year. Tedder is, what's up? He gives him a B+. Ricardo's in the green room. We got to get rolling here. So a couple more. Apologize if I miss a few. Thank you, William. Yep, we dedicate the show to Michael McBride today, if you didn't hear this before. Thank you, Jimmy. Ryan Ashay says, good morning. Am I prepping for the rant? Nah, I will say this. His drafting defense odds went from 50-50 to 70-30. Well, they were never 50-50. There were 80-20. I still think it's going to be more chance of their offense. And I'm going to say this. I'm not going to be as mad. I mean, Gabe asked me the other day, would I still be as upset? Would I still go in the rant if they draft defense? Probably not now. I mean, what they've done is I still think they're going to go offense. I still think they should go offense, but I'm not going to rant at nearly as much. Professor Scandal Pants, welcome to the show. I think you're new, unless you changed your name. The best part is there are 10 guys who would be home run picks, and we're sitting at 8. Hard to mess that up. You know what? I don't disagree with you at all. Mark Gapsky says, good morning. Love the Kaden Elliss signing, 151 tackles in 2024, which is more than Demario Davis, by the way, and he had 5 sacks. Bobby, good morning. Hart Pisani, on the field, he thinks Kaden Elliss is a great replacement for Demario, but leadership, locker room presence, and what's not is almost impossible. Yeah, but you know what? Now's a good time to, as we transition here, I'm going to bring on our guest, our first-time guest. Ricardo LeCompte, how are you, sir? It's always great when we have first-time guests, and I'm glad I finally was able to get you on the show. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Jim. Yeah, glad to be here. I know this is the first time. I know you've had my colleague Doug on a bunch of times, so I am glad to kind of be rolling into that transition and be on the show. So I appreciate it, Jim.
You'll be a much better guest than me, Colin. I mean,
Well, it's funny because we're probably equally as loud. My wife always loves saying this. She goes, you and Doug are the 2 loudest people I have ever met. And I love both of y'all, but you are literally the 2 loudest people. So that get that.
That's funny you say that because my wife says I'm one of the loudest, most obnoxious people she knows. So it's just funny how that happens. Our wives just think that. But I will say this, I told this to people when we first came on and you were coming on. I apologize in advance. The last time I was on a show with you, we were drinking on the set. I don't have any alcohol for you here this morning, my friend. So
all right, Jim. Well, it's good seeing you.
I know. It's just it is morning though, so we'll just have to figure out what's going on later on.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
We're glad to have you here. All right, let's jump into it. I know people are chatting about what the goings on in the Saints free agency, and I'm going to show the comment that I just showed because I want to get your opinion on this. Hart Pisani, who has his own podcast, by the way, he just started his own podcast this past week. He says, on the field, Kaden Elliss, I think, is a great replacement for Demario, but leadership, locker room presence, and whatnot, it's almost impossible to replace that. And my thing here is, tell me if you agree with me, I love Demario Davis. He's up there, top 10 Saint of all time. What he brought to this team, even the measurables, you can't even go through the leadership qualities, what he did for the community. You could go on forever about how great Demario Davis was for this team and for the city of New Orleans. But first of all, we don't know why maybe he decided on his own that he was ready to move on. We don't know the answer to that. But when you talk about the money that he got, $11 million a year for 2 years, at 37 years old, you're bringing in for the same amount of money for 3 years, a Kaden Elliss who is arguably even had a even better season than Demario Davis did last year. He's 7 years younger, and you got him for 3 years, a former Saint bringing back. I think, to me, as much as I love Demario Davis, I actually think this is better for the Saints.
Yeah, I would say getting Kaden Elliss as a replacement for Demario Davis is probably the best case scenario for the Saints. And all those things that you mentioned that you lose with Demario Davis, the veteran leadership, the stuff that he was doing in that locker room. It was crazy because every week that we were covering the Saints, who would be in that locker room, Demario Davis, there would be constantly every single defensive guy would gravitate toward Demario and just pick his brain, ask him questions. He was that father figure adult in a locker room that's full of 24, 25, 26-year-olds. He was that presence. He was that dad of that locker room. So obviously you can't replace that. So that is a big hole in terms of that to fill. But if you wanted to just look at production, if you just want to look at going, do we really want to sign 2 or 3 year deals with a 37-year-old player who, granted, he had a great season last year, but you don't know how sustainable that is for next year or for 2 years. And granted, Demario Davis does a great job of making sure that he is able to go week in, week out, play at his age and be at the top of his ability. If you lose something like that and can go younger, still have the same type of production, and get a guy who's familiar with this team, familiar with kind of the goings on in terms of that locker room, and you can still get that same type of production. I think in the Saints, that is the best case scenario. So yes, I feel like the Kaden Elliss, if you had to find a replacement for Demario Davis, outside of everything, outside of the locker room presence he brings, Kaden Elliss is the guy that you wanted to bring in. And I think the Saints did a great job of being able to get him back from Atlanta.
From what we've seen, from what he did the last 3 years in Atlanta, obviously when he left here, it's kind of like Zach Bond almost in a way. Probably not quite Zach Bond's level, but, when he left here, I give the Saints grief sometimes when they let these guys go and then they turn into these stars. And Kaden Elliss obviously was as much a special teamer as he was a linebacker when he was here. And he went to Atlanta and he just brought his game to a new level. Should the Saints have seen that coming? Should they have found a way to keep him 3 years ago?
It's kind of like the same, as you just said, the Zach Bond situation where they necessarily probably either weren't going to get the playing time or the system didn't fit them. And then when they leave, you kind of go, all right, Kaden Elliss has a chance to flourish. Because I don't think he would have had that playing behind Demario, playing behind Pete Werner. I don't think he would have had those opportunities to show that he could play. Same thing with Zach Bond, who was just in simply the wrong system. He gets into a 3-4 in Philadelphia, and he can play that edge rusher, athlete, outside linebacker, coverage guy, and you see how he flourishes as well. It's one of those things where it's like, all right, now that you've seen Kaden Elliss do it consistently, show the durability too. Because remember, in those 3 years in Atlanta, he did not miss a game. So like he has the durability as well. Having those opportunities to show that he can play that and can handle that, it makes sense. But usually that's what happens. I mean, at least if you're a Saints fan, you go, at least we can draft and pick the right guys. At least we know which guys we're targeting that could work. Sometimes it just doesn't work out, but at least there are more hits in terms of doing that than those misses. But hey, the Saints get an opportunity to bring back Kaden Elliss, and he's shown he can do it. And now he gets the opportunity to show in that role now that Demario once previously owned.
Ricardo LeCompte of WWL-TV is our guest here this morning on the Dattitude podcast, presented by Evangeline Securities. I'm going to go through some of these comments here. We might be all over the place here, but I know people want to talk Saints and get their questions and comments in or whatever. But Lee Saint says, let Cam Jordan retire a Saint. And we talked about this before you came on this morning. I think the fact that it's Wednesday, I mean, all these free agent signings and the fact that Cam hasn't gone yet, it tells me that maybe there isn't a huge interest out there. Does that lean towards maybe him coming back?
Yeah, that was kind of my feeling. There were two ways when I was looking at the Cam Jordan and Saints thing, where it was like, it felt like both parties probably would have benefited if they gotten the deal done before his contract expired, because you don't take that $18 million dead money hit if you restructure the deal. On the same time, I didn't feel like there was going to be a big market for Cam Jordan because, granted, he had the production, the 10.5 sacks, but he's also 36. And sometimes you just don't see players line up where you go, here's a 36-year-old producing like this. And it almost feels like it was a one-off for Cam Jordan because he saw the 2 years prior. I mean, he didn't have that production. I know he was playing in that NASCAR inside. They were trying to kick him in. Todd Grantham, as he would say, didn't use him the right way. So when he gets that 1 year out of that, playing a true defensive end role, now granted, he also had Chase Young on the other side, which kind of drew a lot of attention, but at least he took advantage of that. I just felt like in the end, both parties would kind of have benefited if they had gotten a deal done before his contract went void. Now that we're in the situation where he is a free agent, I just don't know, outside of maybe Tennessee or another team who just need defensive end rotation depth and want a veteran on their team, those would be kind of the targets. But it just feels like in the end, we're going to have where Cam Jordan's not going to have the suitors that he probably has. And then, the Saints kind of end up winning that negotiation battle and can offer him something to bring him back. But I always felt like at the end, it was going to be Cam Jordan coming back to the Saints, just simply because I didn't think a lot of teams would find the need for a 36-year-old who's kind of been dipping in production to have them on their team outside of just having another veteran in the locker room.
Well, Carolina already signed an edge rusher in free agency, so just don't go to Atlanta or Tampa Bay. Okay, if you go
I think every
else,
Saints fan is like, please don't.
Exactly, but you see that so often that that vets, longtime vets, end up going to, especially like in Atlanta. That's I don't think he would do that, but
the way he has talked for 15 years of how much he despises the Falcons.
Yeah, I don't see him.
I just don't see it either. That would be the greatest plot twist in the history of the world if he did that.
Yeah, I agree. I don't see that. Although I could see him going to like a Tampa. Let's just hope that doesn't happen. All right. Mitch Bergeron says if the Saints did draft Jeremiyah Love, we would immediately have the best backfield in the NFL. Ricardo, switching to draft thoughts, do you think now that they have signed Travis Etienne, do you think that they still thinking about Jeremiyah Love? If he's there at 8, would that be something that the Saints might still want to do?
If he's there at 8, if you're the Saints, take Jeremiyah Love.
100%.
One of the biggest needs that this team needs is playmakers. They just need offensive playmakers. And even though you address the running back position, which I have felt like the last 3 to 4 years, this has been one of the weakest spots on this roster because of a declining Alvin Kamara, because you've had a Kendre Miller who hasn't stayed healthy, and you've just been missing on a lot of the free agents. You needed to upgrade that room. You signed Travis Etienne, so at least you're addressing that. Go ahead and take as I would like to say, double dip. And if you have Jeremiyah Love added to that running back room, great. The Saints did that in 2017. Remember when they signed Adrian Peterson? They signed a veteran in that running back room and still ended up drafting Alvin Kamara. And what ended up happening? Alvin Kamara became that lead back, and they ended up cutting Adrian Peterson, week 3 or week 4 of the season. Get as much, you're going to get the best running back in the draft. He's probably one of the elite blue chippers in terms of the offensive side of the ball that you can have, the versatility that you can use with him, a guy who will be an every down back. If he is there at 8, which right now I feel like he won't be at 8, but if he is there, absolutely take Jeremiyah Love.
Yeah, I just think about what this team could do. And you talk about getting a guy like a Jeremiyah Love, who I think is a franchise-altering back, who's 21 years old, and can come in here. And to me, Ricardo, he immediately, because you got a guy that's probably going to be here a minimum of 5 years on a rookie deal. I mean, it's just a no-brainer to me.
Yeah, it everything makes sense. And you put him in a Kellen Moore system where they treat him as his Saquon Barkley. And you could do so much stuff in terms of just in the pass game, in the run game, giving somebody that you instantly have to account for outside of going, all right, Tyler Shuck is going to run this thing. Oh, wait, we have to deal with Jeremiyah Love as well. It just makes sense that if he's there, or any team who's got, it makes sense to add someone like that. And again, you get him young. As he said, he's on a rookie deal, but there are a few of these blue chip type running backs. But John Robinson is the one that I go, this is probably the last one where Atlanta, you take a guy like that and you see how versatile he is in Atlanta's offense. If there's a Jeremiyah Love on the board, you absolutely have to take it.
People like to point out, the negative Nellies of the world love to go out and point out, well, 8 is too high for a running back. 4 is too high for a running back. Whatever. You just brought up Bijan Robinson. I mean, Bijan Robinson absolutely was worth the price that Atlanta paid. If you go out and get a guy that you deem to be franchise changing, which I think that, again, Jeremiyah Love to me is not your every year first round running back. He's different than everybody else. There's so many things that he can do. And I just think that, you bring him in and let him play with Etienne and who knows, maybe AK stays, maybe he doesn't stay. We don't know the answer. But if AK could stay and mold, help mold Jeremiyah Love and have those 3 guys as your guys and let them all rotate in. I mean, man, you're talking about, you go from the worst running game in the league to maybe one of the top 6 or 8.
Yeah, and that's how you should approach the draft. When you it's talent you're acquiring talent. It's talent acquisition. If he is the best prospect on the board, why would you say no? And it's one of those where it's you're not drafting for need. The Saints put themselves in a position in free agency just across the board of going, we fill all the needs. Now we go into a draft where you're not necessarily drafting for need. You're drafting the best player on the board. And Jeremiyah Love, I bet on all 32 NFL teams, is in their top 5, if not in their top 3. And that's why you go after a guy like that if he is available.
And you look at where these teams are, the Cardinals aren't going to draft Jeremiyah Love because they just, they signed one. I mean, the Jets are dealing with Breece Hall. I doubt they're not going to sign him at 2. You go to 4, Titans, maybe. Giants are probably one that you have to look at. Commanders need so much, and the Browns aren't going to go get a running back. So, I mean, I know people keep saying that he's going to be off the board, but unless someone trades up ahead of the Saints, I think it's at least 50-50 that he's there.
Yeah, I would say it's 50-50. Tennessee is the one where I'm kind of
right.
I know they've got so many needs, but again, it's that same process of going, if he's the best player on their board, don't reach for needs. Go after the best player. So that's where I kind of slot him in. Yeah, there's always that possibility somebody who's got enough draft capital to move up ahead of the Saints to go take him will. The Saints, I would say the Saints and the Chiefs, because again, if Jeremiyah Love was available at 9, even though the Chiefs have kind of said, all right, well, we've got, Kenneth Walker. If they could add Jeremiyah Love in that backfield,
yeah, sure. They could.
Right. Yeah.
And, you look at the draft order, we got it here on the screen, but beyond that, I mean, Cincinnati, they just drafted a running back 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine that's, again, they might. I mean, so I'm talking about teams that may, because the one thing I was worried about was Kansas City jumping ahead of them. Well, they're not going to do that now, you wouldn't think. Cincinnati doesn't really need one. Miami, maybe, but I doubt it. They got Ashan.
HA. Mm-hmm.
I mean, Dallas, maybe. So, I mean, you're looking at teams, and then if you go beyond that, teams are going to have to make a huge move and give up probably multiple first rounders to move up that far. If you're going that, because the team's not going to drop. Tennessee's not going to drop from a 4, or the Giants aren't going to drop from a 5, or the Commanders aren't going to drop from a 7 and move down 8, 10, 12 spots unless they're getting major, return.
Right. There has to be like a lot of that trade down stuff. And when you hear that and teams who do that, like even if they're in a position to go do that, like you're still getting a quality player because there's still other guys. Like, and when teams have that approach of like, or when you hear fans go, like, trade down, get all these picks, but it's like, but you're passing up on a guy who potentially could be all pro, multiple all pro stuff. Like it makes no sense to really do that.
End up trading down. I don't know. I mean, it's not their MO, but
no. And I think if the Saints were sitting there, they are in a position to still get a top 10 player. And because you've got if you got your top 10, like talent wise, like blue chip type stuff, well, that one is going to be Mendoza. So that's like, he's not a top 10 guy, right? And then you've got probably teams in there in the mix that are going to take offensive linemen who are not the best, and like they're not overall the best in the draft. So that's 7 positions so far that you still go, all right, we could get one of the 7 best guys in the draft. So when you're in that position, you're going to get a guy who could potentially be an all-pro guy. Why trade out of that to go lower? Like you're going to get a really good guy. That's why I don't see teams when you're in that position trading down. It just makes no sense.
This is a much better draft than last year. In fact, this is look. You don't ever want to be in the top 10 because that means you stunk. But this is a really good year to be in the top 10, and so the Saints are going to get somebody at 8, whether it's Jeremiyah Love, whether it's offense. Again, I was telling people until they made all those moves Monday that if the Saints drafted defense and with the number 8 pick of the draft, that you want to come on and watch this show live on draft night because I was probably going to go up. I don't necessarily feel that way anymore because of the moves they made, but I'm feeling a little bit better about if they go deep. I still want them to go offense, but I feel a little bit better. And go to that. Apathy, who says he's the ultimate hater of Mickey Loomis, but he thinks he's cooking here. And you look, no matter what you think of Mickey Loomis, and I always say, you can't just give a guy all the hate, and when he does well, you can't give him love. Right. No, if you're spewing out the distaste for some of the moves that Mickey Loomis has made, well, you got to get him love when he's done well. And I think the Saints have had 2 really good drafts now before this year, and I think what they've done here in free agency has been phenomenal.
Yeah, I'm really a fan of what they've done. And it's not just like the needs they fill. They've got quality guys that they filled in the needs. Like even with interior offensive line, which was like the biggest need that the Saints has, and you go and get a guy like David Edwards, it's like, yes, that's a smart move there. They finally get their Noah Fant. It's been a 2-year courtship to go get Noah Fant, but they finally do that. And they needed an upgrade at tight end as well. I mean, Juwan Johnson, for as playmakish as he could be, you still need another guy opposite of him. And I just didn't think that they had that. So you add some more to that tight end room. You address running back. You even address punter. Like punter was, like they were horrible all around special teams kicking game. And at least you get a punter. Not only do you sign a punter, but you traded Kai Kroger for a better draft pick. Like you're cooking. You're definitely cooking if you're able to flip a pick for a punter. Like there's so many really solid free agency moves that made sense. And I thought this free agency class as a whole, like there were some really talented players available, and the Saints were able to get those guys in contracts that now, because they're not cap held, they don't have to like structure all these things where they're going to have to eat a lot of dead money. These are like straight up like, hey, we can sign you. We have some flexibility to do that. And for what he's done so far, Mickey Loomis has done a good job.
You go from trading the worst punter in the NFC to picking up the best punter in the NFC in free agency and Ryan Wright. It's kind of and look, Saints need a punter. I mean, we've seen the last couple of years without having a decent punter. I mean, how much it's made a difference. So, I mean, we don't spend a whole lot of time talking about punter, but when I saw that move, I was like, yes, they find, because it's been a mess there.
I know we're talking kicking, so I don't want to like bore people on this stuff because everybody's like off, but like you had Lou Headley, you had Matthew Hayball, you had Kai Kroger, like it did not work, and like kicking, punting, all that stuff, like making field goals, coverages on like special teams, like the Saints were not good in those categories last year. So that's one reason why you win only 6 games is because you're not good in all 3 phases. And the fact that you're at least dressing that in free agency is a good sign. And again, a quality former Tulane punter that has been great in the NFL. That's a great pickup.
No doubt about it. One of our regulars, Sean, asked with the Elliss signing, does that take Ohio State's Sonny Styles off their board, do you think?
I don't know if it takes it off because Sonny Styles plays if like say Demario was back and they drafted Sonny Styles would have played off. He doesn't play Demario Davis' position, so it'd be that off-ball linebacker. It wouldn't be the middle. And like Sonny Styles, like athlete-wise, when you're looking at, you go, man, that is an impressive guy to have at the linebacker position. So I don't necessarily think it takes him off the board because again, the Saints have addressed all these positions in free agency, but it doesn't mean like it scratches a position off in the draft.
Right.
Again, if Sonny is high on their board and he's available, because Sonny Styles is another guy that can go before 8. That's another guy that you could look at that the Saints could potentially add just because if you feel good about that linebacker room, because again, you don't know where Danny Stutzman can be in his second year. You're still waiting for Pete Werner to emerge, and he has not. At least Kaden Elliss is a viable commodity. If you added Sonny Styles in that room, now your linebacker room it's cooking a little bit as well.
It goes from lacking to all of a sudden it's full.
Right. So just because you sign Elliss or Travis Etienne doesn't mean like running back or linebackers off the board in this draft, especially at 8.
You've already given us way more insight than Mouton ever did. that is ever given. I mean, like, good Lord. I mean, he should have just stayed in Arizona. I don't know what's
you know what? If he could stand there,
he could have. He would have.
He would have. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
All the spring training baseball. Oh yeah.
I give him grief because he knows that I love him. Chad Gage, kind of exactly what you were just talking about, says, what does this signing mean for Stutzman? And is Pete Werner now expendable? I don't necessarily think they're going to try to get put Pete Werner on the block or anything. I think they're just trying to fill this room. And we saw Stutzman the last half of last year. Obviously, I think each game, as he kind of went along with what Chuck did, he played a lot more towards the end of the season.
Yeah, and I would throw Quincy Riley in that category.
Yeah, for sure.
Another guy, another rookie who got more playing time as we got to the end of the season. And yeah, this is again when you have a guy that you lose in Demario Davis, now it's an opportunity for all these linebackers to show if they can entrench themselves as a starter in this defense. Stutzman is a guy that you go, all right, like I like where he's trending. I don't know if Pete Werner's expendable, but it's definitely like now you go, all right, we need to see something. And it's more like you need a flash because he's been there. He's been a solid stay, but he hasn't flashed. Kind of like where you're watching last year and you've seen Demario all over. And that's what you need from Pete Werner. You just need to see some flashes where you go, okay, this guy, he's solid, but now he can make those plays and make those splash plays when you need to. And I think this is just more of like, hey, like this is your time now. Now that Demario's out of here, you take that leadership. You and Kaden Elliss, you can run this thing. So this is what it means. As
you talk about them getting younger and trying to get younger, I mean that's now your old guy is 30. I don't know. Pete Werner's probably around 30. I didn't look to see how old he is, but he's in the ballpark. But you're talking about getting younger now. You get a Stutzman in there. Brian Basset is probably going to be in the interior more up front, but he also kind of fits in that role as well. We'll see. Maybe he transitions to become a linebacker. I don't know. We'll see. Ryan Ashe says he loves Cam, but he'd like to know how many sacks the rest of our D-line because of Chase Young is causing havoc. I'll tell you what, you want to talk about deals that the Saints made. They haven't made a ton of great free agent deals over the last few years. But Chase Young, they got him at the right time because edge rushers, their price tags are going off the chain now.
Yeah, they got pretty fortunate. And it did at the beginning of that signing. It was almost like, oh man, where are the Saints doing? It's just because you didn't have Chase Young available because he was dealing with that calf injury. But then you got to see, we all knew the potential was there. Like we knew Chase Young was going to be this stud defensive end, a guy who, finished high in the Heisman voting when he was at Ohio State, who was just a dominant force. We knew this was in him. It was just a matter of finding the right system, getting healthy, make sure that he was also in the right mindset and the right space, just because he's had to deal with injuries and the frustrations of not really living up to that potential. He has to hear the word bust a bunch of times from us and other people. Could he possibly be that? And like this past season, he felt more free. He was talking to us more, which was actually kind of good, because most of those like conversations or interviews or those little gaggles that we would have with Chase Young the year prior was just like, I don't want to talk to you. I've been burned by you guys. Like, I'm giving you bare minimum. And then it was like last season, he just felt like he was playing more free, and he could actually like converse with us and talk to us, and felt like, hey, we're not out to get you. We're just trying to like get your inner workings in your mind. And that is a big thing of just being in the right mindset when you're a guy like that, who's had so much pressure, who has been touted as this next great defensive end that hasn't lived up to his potential. And he just didn't play with all that pressure on him last season. And you saw that, like, what it turned into.
I think, Ricardo, that he feels like for the first time and again, I'm just, I'm speculating, but it just seems like he feels like for the first time he belongs somewhere. And I don't know that he's ever felt like he belonged anywhere, even in Washington with his time there. And like you say, with all the pressure that was put on him, definitely not in San Francisco. And so I just feel like, hey, he's figuring out who he really is now. And that play he made in Tennessee just kind of goes to, that's iconic of what that dude can be. And I mean, he can be the leader on this defense for quite a few years.
Yeah, that play against Tennessee was sick. It was
insane. That's
insane.
One of the craziest plays I've ever seen.
Yeah, and he even talked about it toward the end of the season, where he was like, when I was in Washington, I never even met the owner. And like that doesn't surprise me, because Daniel Snyder was in the tail end of his thing owning Washington. But he's like, like having that relationship with even Gale, having that relationship with the front office, having those relationships that he had. Like he truly, and he has said this, he truly feels like this is his place, this is his home. And the fact that he feels that way now, again, that just being in that right frame of mind, playing and not having that pressure, feeling like you're performing, feeling like I got to watch over my shoulder because like I'm not living up to my potential. They can get rid of me at any moment because he's gone through that.
Right.
Being that here, not having to deal with all that, it opened up so much. Having like Cam Jordan across the way who is the exact opposite of playing with pressure, right? So and how much he's learned from him, just in terms of just having another confidant to have in that locker room. Like that's why Chase Young is flourishing like he is. And you needed all those things to go right to make sure that this free agent signing wasn't one of the bigger like travesties of free agent for the Saints in terms of their signing. And it hasn't been, because all those necessary pieces that get the best out of Chase Young is here in New Orleans.
Yeah, Kyle Sherman says Cam Hayward is 36 also. Our Cam Jordan will be looking for $30 million over 2 years. Kyle, different situation. First of all, Cam Jordan is going to be 37 when the season starts. Not that that's that big of a deal. But the big difference is, and I looked this up, Cam Hayward played 71% of the Steelers snaps last year. Cam Jordan, the last half of last year when Chase Young came back, played 46% of the snap. Cam Jordan is not, I don't think he's not going to play. He's going to play half the snaps for wherever he goes. And so that's a big difference. I think Cam Jordan's probably looking more in the $11 to $12 million range per year. So, I mean, I know that's not that much less than what you're talking about, but I think he's probably going to get a 1 year deal. And I think it's probably going to be somewhere between 10 and 12 tops is my opinion.
Yeah. And again, if you bring on Cam Jordan, you're not bringing him to be that double-digit sack guy. Like he's just going to be a veteran guy that's in your defensive end rotation. And again, yes, those numbers have been declining in terms of his usage the last 3 years. Where you mentioned where those defensive snaps, he's taken almost, close to 50%, but that's to be an effective he's not that every down defensive end rusher that he used to be. Again, what you're going to be paying for and the market he's going to end up getting less just simply because you're not utilizing him that way. He's going to be, again, a great veteran that you're going to add to the locker room that can be in the mix of that defensive end rotation for a lot of teams.
No doubt about it. All right, before we let you go, What I like to ask of our guest here, especially this is the third week of season 6 here on a Dattitude. Now, I like to ask our guests just your overall thoughts of the state of the Saints. I know it's pretty a no-duh, Captain Obvious kind of question, but when you compare this team, Ricardo, where we were sitting and what you were talking about on WWL and what I was talking about here on the pod this time last year, it was nothing but doom and gloom and how things have changed over just the course of a year.
Yeah, it is insane, the kind of like 180 that the Saints have just done from where we were at last season, where it was like, all right, we got a first-year youngest coach in the NFL, and you're going, all right, well, he's got the keys to the truck. Let's see the keys of this whole organization. Let's see what he can do. And then you had those issues of going, oh, Derek Carr is not going to play anymore. Well, great. A lot of people didn't like Derek Carr, but at the same time, you're out a quarterback, out a guy who could potentially lead you. It's like, all right, so where's this franchise going? What do they have? So they have a need at quarterback, and we know the crapshoot of the draft, where it's like, all right, we know more time than not the quarterbacks we draft do not work out. So where we were at last year, having that question at quarterback, having the uncertainty of a new head coach, knowing that this franchise is also in a transition of trying to get out of cap hell and at the same time try to build toward the future, even though they never publicly said that it was a rebuild. And that was kind of like to us going, no, this is a rebuild. Yeah, we could tell. We know that it is. To get onto this other side where you have just beaming optimism for this team going into this season because you have the quarterback issue solved. You feel like you've got a competent head coach who knows what he's doing, has a direction for this team. You're going into a free agency period now where you're addressing needs and you're getting better and you're improving holes on the roster. It's not a done deal. You still got a lot of holes to fill in that roster. And now you're going into NFL draft where you're not really drafting needs. You can draft best player to add even more talent to this roster. If you're a Saints fan, you have to feel like you're in a great position to take that next step. And what I mean by next step is not Super Bowl, not NFC Championship, but at least get back to the playoffs. You won 6 games last year. You're in a division that is winnable. That is where you can take that next step. And to say that a year ago where you're just like, man, I hope this team could just like not be the worst team in the NFL, to now you're going, you know what, there are chances if we improve our roster even more that we can get to the playoffs. That is a great spot to be in if you're a Saints fan.
It's crazy that we even use the P word here on this show. I mean, that you can even do that. And consider, because it's legitimately a possibility. I mean, I still would say it's probably not going to happen this coming year, but because their schedule, I think, is going to be much tougher than it's been. But the fact that it's a possibility now, and I saw in the chat, Gabe looked up that the Saints have moved from plus 330 to plus 280 in division and NFC South odds to win the division. So to go from 3.3 to 1 to 2.8 to 1 with just the moves they make means the odds makers feel like it's a possibility too. And again, the fact that you can just talk about that here in March is a lot more fun than last year when if anybody came on here and said that, I'd just blast them. That was a possibility last year.
You would have shut the button and been like, all right, Ricardo, thanks, and then just stop.
Exactly.
Like, I get it. I understand. And that's where they were at last year. And now it is like, again, you're in a realistic spot where you can say that word. And again, I think even more, it's just the optimism. It is that feeling where like you don't feel dejected as a fan going, there is no hope for this franchise at all. To have that optimism, especially when you didn't have it a year ago, like that means so much. It means so much because at least you're looking forward to next season going, there's a chance. Like you can say the word. There's a chance. You can actually say that. Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. All right. Last thing, I did promise the listeners I would ask you your thoughts on the whole Maxx Crosby situation. Not Saints related, but man, I tell you what, you never know what you're going to see in the early parts of free agency. The trade to Maxx Crosby to Baltimore, and Baltimore says, you know what? Never mind. We'll go get Trey Hendrickson.
Man, like this is like the greatest like buyer's remorse like period you could have in NFL free agency because nothing is finalized until Wednesday.
Right.
So you literally can go Monday and go, man, I really like that. And then by Tuesday you go, you know what? Let's not. I'm good.
2 first rounders.
Yeah. And that's like that is like with all this legal tampering stuff, you can do something like that. Man, the Ravens working like the Ravens like ended up now. You get a guy, Trey Hendrickson, who is a very productive defensive end, but most importantly, you get to keep your 2 first-round picks that you were going to trade to the Raiders. And if you're the Raiders, man, if you do not end up dealing Maxx Crosby, how awkward is that workplace going to be when he comes back?
Insane.
Like it is crazy. And it's just, it is NFL free agency, and it would not lack any drama. And this certainly is like a soap opera of free agent proportions, where you're just like, man, you just almost got the best defensive end on the market, and now you're like
Almost.
back on your like it is crazy. It is insane.
Isn't legal tampering kind of an oxymoron? I mean,
so yeah, it is.
I mean, you can't. I mean, if you're tampering, it's not really legal.
It's not really legal, right? It is
like
illegal.
When they throw a flag and they say illegal block in the back, is there a legal block in the back? I've always wanted to know the answer to that. Can you legally block someone in the back? I don't think the answer is yes. So, can you legally tamper? I don't know.
There are a lot of people who coin these terms and forget that there's like they don't have an English background. Like, because I'm an English minor, so like there's a lot of oxymorons where just like where you say like illegal stuff where you're just like, no, that doesn't make sense. You could just say like legal, or just say tampering is allowed, but they go legal tampering, and it's legal. Like, all right.
It's like Gabe said back in the chat, because I am not a crook. I mean, that's what the Ravens are doing about.
Yeah, no doubt.
You know? Ricardo LeCompte, thank you so much for being a first-time guest. You went unscathed. Again, already, I put you ahead of Mouton. Don't tell him. He might get his feelings hurt. I'll see him next week, and I'll tell him on my own.
I was going to say, your secret is safe with me. You can tell him. You can break the news, and then Doug will be like, all right, whatever. You want to drink? And then you're set. Like, that's what
next time, maybe we will have a drink on the set. We'll have to see. We'll work. Maybe you and Ross can both come on at the same time.
There you go.
All right, Ricardo. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Jim. Appreciate it.
All right. Ricardo LeCompte, everybody. Love our first-time guest. He was a great guest. We had a lot of fun with it, and we'll see Ricardo here in the near future. We got some good stuff coming up. We're going to keep talking. We still got the Saints, but don't forget our new segment, Dat Date in History. It's going to be a fun one again today. I'm telling you, you're not going to want to miss it. I got a lot of compliments about it. Jimmy Roden says, great guest. Excellent job. We were fantastic having him here today. What else did I miss while I was out there looking? S. Callie's back there, by the way. I know she's talking to Gabe, but is that for Atlanta to win the division is plus 400. Atlanta is 4-1. The Saints are 2.8-1. Is it a reason to get excited? I don't know. We can get excited about whatever the hell we want these days, right? I mean, so yeah, kind of in a way. Scott Claymore says, Loomis got a draft pick for the worst punter in the league. You got to give him props. I mean, that's what Ricardo was talking about. 100%. You go and get a draft pick for the worst punter in the league, and then before that, you had already signed the best punter, at least in the NFC, and somebody's willing to give you a pick, or they traded picks, but still. I mean, I don't care what you got. You got something. Just kind of crazy. All right. Anyway, before we bring on Gabe for our week, again, I'm telling you, don't go anywhere. You want to see, if you're new to the show, we just started a segment on Monday called Dat Date in History, and where the randomizer, in this case, ChatGPT, I changed it from 1950, by the way, any year between 1960 and 2025, and I go, whatever year it tells me, I go get the front page of the Times-Picayune. On that date, I show it here. We talk about what happened locally, and then I quiz Gabe on what happened in the past on this date throughout history, sports history. Got it? If you don't got it, you'll have fun. I'm telling you, it got good reviews on Monday. We're going to keep doing it. Before we do all that, though, we told you earlier, we'll let you know more about how Evangeline Securities can help you figure out what your family-run or privately held business might be worth and whether it's time to sell. And I said that without choking. It is a great day here at Dat. How did they do it? Well, thank you for asking. After their complimentary valuation of your company, if you decide to proceed, native New Orleanian Nick Braden and the folks at Evangeline, they will begin an extensive auction process from among established private equity funds from around, the whole wide world. They will maximize the return for the founder and his or her family. Evangeline Securities, they are the top producer on their platform. There are very few companies like them in this area, and 0.0 with their dedication and success. They are fully licensed. They are ready to serve you. So get in touch with Nick about what's really important. And it ain't about punters. Punters are kind of important, but they are not nearly as important as the rest of your life. You can find them at www.evangelinesecurities.com. Holy smokes! Cecil Evans with the $50 super sticker. Cecil, you get more. That's not a golf clap. That's like, you, sir, have been eliminated from contention for a dumbass of the month. You can't be dumbass of the month if you're giving us 50. You could say whatever you want now. Wow. Thank you, sir. This question was asked earlier by someone else, S. Kelly, and I forgot to mention it, so we'll mention it here. Wants to know, what are the chances Taysom plays again? I'm going to be nice. I'm going to go 0.5. How about 0.67? Somewhere around there. I don't know. It's a little bit more than 0.0. Apathy says maybe Evangeline Securities should have done the Crosby trade. All right, come on. Don't make me choke and laugh here. All right. Time to move on. You know what? Let's ask Gabe Henderson what he thinks about the cross. There's all kinds of stuff going on. I don't know if I haven't had this much fun on the show. Well, Monday was a lot of fun, but it was a different kind of fun. It was crazy, nonstop. I never even, by the way, it's not even really breaking news now, but Daniel Jones, Danny Dimes, $88 million. He fleeced him again, Gabe. He got him again. You thought it was just the Giants that were stupid. He got him again. The Colts are spending up to $100 million over 2 years for Danny Dimes. What does Danny Dimes put in GM's drinking water?
Whatever the opposite of the dumbass of the week is, we need to give.
Hold on. Don't do that when I'm drinking water.
So, okay, whatever the opposite of dumbass of the year at the daddies is, we need to give a reverse daddy.
A reverse daddy
to Daniel Jones's agent, because that dude has swindled 2 franchises out of tens of millions of dollars.
Who's your daddy?
To Daniel Jones.
That's going to be who's your daddy? And it's got to be Daniel Jones, right? I mean, Daniel Jones is their daddy.
The agent's doing it.
Scott, I'm going to throw this comment out there. How many games before Tua has a concussion? I mean, I know you're joking, but I said it the other day. I'm going to say it again. That was a great signing for the Falcons. They lose nothing. If he sucks and he can't play a single game, they lose nothing. So at least at the bare minimum, until Penix can come back, it's a great signing. UBN, Matt Flynn's agent is the GOAT of agents.
The GOAT of agents is probably whoever clipboard Jesus his agent was.
I don't know.
See Charlie Whitehurst's career earnings.
Did Matt Flynn, what did he get before Russell Wilson came in and sniped his job?
Money.
A ton of money for sure. All right, we got to get to Dat Date in just a minute, but I know you got some thoughts on the whole Maxx Crosby situation.
Yeah, we'll start with that. I think it's a dirty move from the Ravens. There are multiple reporters out there saying that the NFL execs and agents are really, really upset with what the Ravens did here, because it's kind of a handshake agreement that once something is done, it's done. And from everything I've read, and I believe The Athletic was reporting this as well, the Raiders were transparent with every single person they talked to about Maxx Crosby's rehab. So I think it's dirty. I think they saw the Trey Hendrickson market.
Fair and love and war, buddy.
I think they saw the Trey Hendrickson market wasn't what they were expecting it to be, and they jumped on the opportunity. I think this is actually a worse deal for them. I think Maxx Crosby's a better player. And I don't think it's particularly close.
Yeah, but I mean, you're getting Hendrickson for less than Crosby's gonna cost, and you don't have to give up 2 first-round draft picks.
Crosby's younger and he plays the run.
Yeah,
Trey Hendrickson has he is a one-trick pony because Trey Hendrickson has no interest in playing the run.
You're comparing apples to elephant shit. It's not the same thing.
They play the same position.
They play the same position, but the deals aren't nearly the same. You have to give up 2 first-round picks for one, and the other one you're not. So, but I hear what you're saying. I don't disagree with the fact that Maxx Crosby is clearly a better player. There's no doubt about that. Charles says Chase Daniel's agent is genius. That's true. I mean, Chase, you want to talk about Clipboard?
Daniel was also very good in college. So
yeah, but Chase Daniel, he was great here, and now he's doing podcasts. Adam Varner wants to ask you a question. At what point would you want the Texans to get a new quarterback? CJ Stroud laid a turd in the playoffs.
Ask me after the end of next year.
Fair enough. All right. Are you ready to get into? Wait, there was one other thing we wanted to talk about. You wanted to talk about.
UBN's got a question as well.
He says, to be fair, Burrow doesn't need Trey to hurt him. Okay, what?
You didn't even mention Bam Adebayo.
Shoot, you know what? I'm glad I brought this. What was worse, the Ravens move or Bam's 43 for? I'm sorry I didn't bring this up. First of all, y'all know that I don't really. I try to care about the NBA. But I have trouble, okay? And last night, for those of you who didn't see, and judging by the attendance in the comments, because y'all haven't mentioned it until UBN just did, you don't care that much.
Earlier.
Oh, I missed it. Bam Adebayo for the Miami Heat playing the you want to talk about legal tampering, the Washington Wizards, who don't, and not only do they not care, they're actively trying to lose. Allowed Bam Adebayo, who averages 18.9 points a game or something like that, to score 83 and pass Kobe Bryant. But I know you don't feel the same way I do. Not only would I put an asterisk next to this because
you can't put an asterisk.
Hold on, I can do whatever I want. Don't get me to say the F word again. Calm the F down. All right. So not only would I put an asterisk next to it because the Wizards don't give a damn, but I would put an asterisk next to it because they fouled him enough to where he took 43 free throws, which broke the NBA record by 4 and would have been in the top 10. The top 10 before last night was top 5, excuse me. Number 5 on the list of all-time free throws in one game was 10 free throw attempts less than what Bam Adebayo took last night.
So here's where my problem lies, and I know we want to get through this quickly, so I won't make it too long. My problem is not with the free throw attempts. That's not my problem with this. My problem with this is the Heat fouling and keeping him in the game up 30 in the fourth quarter.
Maybe they wanted
to maximize every possession. So here's the thing. Bam Adebayo had 31 in the first quarter. Do you know how many free throws he had in the first quarter?
I don't know. I don't care.
It was only 6.
So then they made an absolute farce out of it.
So here's the thing. So then the Wizards realized we can't stop this guy. And he was the only player doing anything for the Heat because all of their other starters are injured. So they were giving him the ball every possession. So the Wizards were just fouling him. It's not his fault that he was being fouled. That's why I don't have a huge problem with it. It's an impressive and dominant display. And I think it's 83 points. You got to have some fun with it. I don't feel.
Lance says I was hoping he missed free throws at the end on purpose out of respect.
There's no respect for Kobe Bryant. Come on.
What are you talking about? I was not a.
I'm not going to talk about Kobe Bryant's off the court ethics.
Off. You want to talk about?
That's all I'm saying. I'm not going to bring up
here and go into like player after player after player.
Kobe Bryant was fantastic. I loved Kobe Bryant on the court, but off the court, different story.
Okay. We're definitely not going to that today. We got too much to talk about it, and I really have to end the show. And
so the last thing I wanted to say on
I gotta go.
Just the last topic I wanted to bring up. Mark DeRosa. What the hell are you doing, man? What are you doing?
I didn't know what you would. You told me this morning. I had not seen that. But you told me that Mark DeRosa did not know that the Americans. He thought the Americans had clinched a spot.
Not only did he not know, he had the U.S. team celebrating after their win against Mexico. This was a quote from him yesterday when asked about his starting lineup. Quote, there are some guys dragging today, Mark DeRosa said after his coaching staff and players stayed up, quote, telling stories and celebrating after the win over Mexico. The team bus didn't leave Dyken Park until 12:30 at night.
Yeah, I saw.
What are you doing? And then just to highlight the incompetence of Mark DeRosa here. The United States national hockey team has a 2-time Stanley Cup champion. The USA basketball team has a 4-time finals winner. The USA soccer manager is a Champions League runner-up. The USA baseball manager is a talk show host.
Oh, well, come on. I mean, that's not fair. He played in the major leagues for.
He played. He didn't have any managerial experience.
Yeah, so what? I mean,
I don't have a problem with Mark DeRosa personally.
I mean, what he did is boneheaded. That's what he did was boneheaded. There's no question about it. But I mean,
yeah, but this is just stupid. And as much as I don't want to see the U.S. go out of the World Baseball Classic because it's going to be so much fun if they go on, it would also be the most hilarious thing to ever happen.
Yeah,
that's hyperbolic.
By the way, kind of semi-ironic. Mark DeRosa's parents are both descended from Italian immigrants, so he would have been eligible in his day to play for Italy had he wanted to.
Well, someone went down the list last night. Like everyone who played for Team Italy was born in the U.S.
It was crazy. DP USA says it's good to see that Mickey Loomis' surgery to remove his brain tumor seems to have been somewhat successful.
That's mean.
Did
he transfer that tumor to Mark DeRosa?
Kind of ridiculous. All right, let's get to our Dat Date segment again. In case you have missed it, and I got a lot of great reviews. I got a lot of nice comments, Gabe, from our Dat Date segment. And the way we're doing this is I give you a date in history. Well, it's this date, March 11th. We pick a year. The randomizer picked a year from 1960 to 1994. And then we first talk about what happened locally. And the year it picked was 1994. And I was able to show this is what the Times-Picayune looked like. The front page of the Times-Picayune looked like on the sports, at least the top half of it above the fold. The sports section looked, and go figure, LSU men's basketball lost. It's things that weren't really that much different back
then. Things changed, the more they stayed the same.
The LSU men finished their season 11-16, and they were knocked out of the SEC tournament in the first round. They lost to Georgia 83-70. Some notes about that game. The Tigers finished the season on a 9-game losing streak, which was their longest at the time in 27 years. They have since shattered that. It's also ended a streak of 17 straight seasons without a losing season. That's even hard to believe that the LSU went 17 straight seasons without a losing season. And the story on the front page of the sports section on Friday, March 11th was written by my friend John Reed, who I haven't seen in a long time. Colleagues back in the day. It's been a long time. I used to do the front page of sports. In fact, I don't try to think back. I don't know if I was doing the fronts yet or not. So I may or may not have done this front page. I don't remember. I don't recall. I mean, I did. When you do thousands of them, you kind of forget. Some other news from that game, Gabe. In the game, Dale Brown was in tears because he was ejected with 7:30 remaining in the first half and said after the game, quote, I never have felt so bad for letting a team down. Dale Brown was on episode 45 of the Dattitude podcast. If you want to go back, it was an audio only show. You'd have to go find it on Apple or Spotify or SoundCloud. It was a great conversation, by the way. And he actually used the term as his favorite, one of his favorite terms when talking about the NCAA. He said, quote, Gestapo bastards here on this show. Go back and check it out, episode number 45. He was 59 at the time in 1994. He is 90 years old now. I think he was 87 when he was on the show. He would coach at LSU for 3 more seasons, and he would finish with 448 wins and 301 losses. At the same time, Gabe, Tulane was playing in the Metro Athletic Conference. You don't even know what the Metro Athletic Conference because it hasn't existed in quite a while. We were writing, and Trey Isles wrote in advance on Louisville, who won the Metro Conference that year. The Wave finished second to Louisville that year. The Cardinals would wrap up their season in the Sweet 16 under Coach Denny Crum. who passed away 3 years ago at the age of 85. Peter Finney, the late Peter Finney, wrote a column on the late Tom Benson's shrewd negotiations with the state. And then nationally in 1994, what happened in the national scene in 1994, Gabe? Top sports news on this date 32 years ago included, excuse me, college basketball wrapping up before tournaments. Pardon me. I knew I wasn't going to make it the whole show. I almost did. And the biggest game was in the Atlantic 10 Conference when number 11 UMass and coach John Calipari with a 56-55 win over number 8 Temple and coach John Chaney. Do you remember when the A-10 was a big deal?
No. And I'll give you actually a funny note with tying in Dale Brown and John Calipari. I was in attendance when they dedicated the PMAC court to Dale Brown against John Calipari's Kentucky Wildcats.
All right. It was kind of a slow day overall, but I've got I do have some trivia questions for you as we do. And here on March 11th, back in the state, I'm going to ask you, and this one's easy. If you don't get this one, we got a problem, okay? In the NBA, what happened in the NBA 6 years ago today?
6 years ago today?
6 years ago today. Come on, you history minor. You got to know what happened in the world.
You're talking six years. So in 2020?
Correct.
Oh, I would assume after Rudy Gobert touched all the mics, they stopped for COVID.
Correct. Rudy Gobert tested positive for COVID and the league shut down, quote, until
what an idiot.
Further. No.
What an idiot.
I mean, they were still going to shut down regardless of whether Rudy Gobert touched anything or not.
Yeah, but it was still such a dumb thing to do.
Who knows what he touched? That's a whole different story. Anyway, but not
only that, I actually heard a story from someone who was playing with him on the Wolves.
Well, see, now you're talking about touching things and somebody was playing with him.
Well, so apparently Rudy Gobert was like very, very sick from the team flight that night.
Oh. So he showed that he had COVID.
And he traveled
never
with
even
the team.
Realized he had COVID, did he?
Despite someone from the CDC coming in to talk to the team about COVID, he just completely disregarded it. And
well, he French is his first language, so you got to give him a little break.
Yeah.
Anyway, COVID maybe doesn't translate to en français. All right, moving on. On this date, the NFL adopted instant replay. What year was it?
It's in the future because they still haven't adopted to its full capability.
I didn't say their full capability. It was when they first got instant replay.
Oh.
And by the way, if you want to play along in the audience, feel free.
Late 96?
96, you were off by quite a bit, my friend. You're off by a full decade. 1986.
Okay.
March 11th, 1986, the NFL adopted replay. I got another one for you. Okay. And since you like tennis so much.
Oh, yeah.
I almost choked again. Sorry about that. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go back and watch Monday segment. We had some fun with it. On this date in 1991, we talked. Monica Seles has been brought up twice, now 3 times, I guess, in like a week. Monica Seles ended Steffi Graf's long run at number 1. How many consecutive weeks had Steffi Graf been the number 1 women's tennis player? I'll give you a hint. I think it was longer than Tiger was number 1 in golf.
612 weeks.
Oh, come on.
I don't know.
612 weeks?
Yeah.
How many years is that? I mean, you're asking a Shaw dude to do math. I don't even know.
I'm not thinking 6. No, I'm not thinking 612.
UBN is super close.
No,
well, he's not super close.
No,
but
I was thinking
a lot closer than you are.
No, I was thinking a little over a decade. So yeah, no, that tracks. I don't know.
Well,
I have no idea how long these people's careers were. I don't know tennis at all.
You should know. Go do some studying on tennis.
No, absolutely.
On this date, 1991, Monica Seles ended Steffi Graf's long run at number 1. She had been number 1 for 186 straight weeks.
Okay, so just over 2 years.
No longer.
Or sorry, 3 years. Oh, you said 186?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. Guys don't do math.
Especially not just live. Just over 3 years. If it's
All right.
196.
And then there is one other question. The first NHL championship was played on this date in March 11th. It was a best of 2. I don't even know how you do that, but whatever. They played 2. Yeah, whatever. It's the NHL. And it was not called the Stanley Cup yet, although they had Stanley Cup games. It just wasn't for the championship yet.
Mm-hmm.
The first NHL championship was played between the Toronto Arenas and the Montreal Canadiens. What year was it? If you come within 10, I'll give you a golf clap.
1898.
You are not within 10. It happened in 1917.
Okay. Fun little hockey thing. Do you know what happens? Do you know what happens in the Stanley Cup playoffs if they ever go to 8 overtimes?
Oh God, no.
They drop a second puck.
Jesus.
100% serious. There was a game a few years ago.
They should have had 2 footballs when LSU and Texas A&M went to 7 overtimes instead of changing.
That game shouldn't have ever gone to 7 overtimes.
Instead of changing the stupid ass rules.
Times.
Yeah, well, instead of changing the stupid ass rules they play with in college football now. By the way, college football is the dumbest overtime rules on planet Earth.
Was the A&M tight end in that game? Was that Jace Sternberger who fumbled in overtime that they reviewed and said it wasn't a fumble? Or Kellen Mond, whose knee touched down, but they said it didn't touch down. Ridiculous. That the officiating in that game had me more heated than any game I've ever seen.
Yeah,
I know.
Makes me more mad than Lance gets about Derek Carr. That's right, I said it. Some other things that happened on March 11th in this date in history in 1892. The first public basketball game was played in my sister's current hometown of Springfield, Massachusetts. 1901, the Cincinnati. This is an important one and an interesting one. 1901, the Cincinnati Enquirer reported that Baltimore Orioles manager John McGraw had signed Cherokee Indian Tokahoma, who really was Charlie Grant, and you can guess why they called him a Cherokee Indian. Yes, he was black, and that was the only way they could get him in the league, which don't get me started on all that. And then in 1997, San Francisco Giants first baseman JT Snow had his eye socket fractured. Ouch. When he was hit by a pitch.
I will. Are those all your facts?
That's it. That is this date.
I will leave you with a parting question.
Okay.
How many points would Bam Adebayo have scored in the first ever NBA game?
3.
No, definitely not. He would have dominated.
4?
I don't know how they. I assume the score.
Didn't they play like the 4 corners back then? They didn't even like.
I don't know.
I mean, they did all kinds of weird stuff.
But Bam Adebayo would be physically dominant over everyone in that game.
He probably would be.
So.
All right, yeah, UBN's going to be on here next Wednesday.
He'll probably do better than me in some of these respects because
he definitely will do better than you when it comes to tennis.
Absolutely. I mean, anyone should do better than me when it comes to tennis. I know nothing about tennis, as I've displayed multiple times.
Lance wants to know if we traded Derek Carr yet. His neighbor needs someone to dog sit.
You'll need someone to.
I will say this:
presumably,
the dude is untradeable. If the Saints traded to your Texans the worst punter on planet Earth, they found a way to trade.
He wasn't even the worst punter in the league last year, by the way.
He sucks, dude.
I'm not.
Okay, all right. Let me get through. Well, let me get through my shtick here.
Okay.
If they are good enough to trade that dude to the Texans and get something, even if it was a 6th round pick and you got to give him a 7th round, whatever. I don't care. If they were good enough, if they can't trade Derek Carr, nobody wants Derek Carr. And
the Raiders just traded Geno Smith. So
exactly.
Someone signed Gardner Minshew in the Lord's year 2026.
I mean,
Derek Carr is much better than those two.
You would trust, UBN wants to know if Lance would trust Derek Carr to watch dog. He'd rather trust Michael Vick. Oof. Yes, I did bark on the show. That means it's
usually you got to pay for that.
Exactly.
That's what Cecil paid for.
Exactly. Let's show our love today from our friends. Malcolm Alonso gave us $10. UBN gave us 20, and Cecil Evans again. Thank you so much. $50, Cecil Evans.
Got you a few barks.
Awesome. Exactly. Just for you, for Cecil Bucks. What will I do for $50? I'll go. That's what I'll do. For $50, I will bark on the air. Like, not like they did in Coming to America. You remember Coming to America when she was like, bark, stand on one heel. No, not like some little poodle bark. No, I'm giving you pit bull.
There's a trend going around on social media right now where girls.
What would I do for 100?
You don't want to know.
Exactly. You'll have to pay 100 to find out. 50 should get a You're absolutely right, Rock. We got to make the t-shirts.
There's a trend going around on social media right now where girls say to their boyfriends, they say, did you know it's impossible to say rough twice? And the guy will just fall for it and he'll go rough, and then they'll just, oh, good boy.
You very dumb. Gonna find out
somehow it's topical.
Chad Gage wants to know how much it would take me to say what I'm not going to say. And if you can't see the scroll, that's your problem. Let's just say the university that doesn't exist. A university that doesn't exist here in this state. I don't know. If I tell you what, Chad, if you give me 100, well, I'll do it. Scott Claymore says he has a pit bull. That's not a pit bull bark. Come on, man. What kind of bark is that then?
Boston Terrier.
No, Boston Terrier. My son has a Boston Terrier, and it's a yipping little pain in the ass. That don't even count. All right, we had too much fun for one day.
She's very loud.
Yeah, well, bring her on the show next Wednesday when we got UBN. I mean, the show can't get any less quality than it's going to get then. Just because it's his birthday or something. Scott says it's a lab. Rocky says it's a Chihuahua.
I can assure you
says it sounds like his Shih Tzu. I just said Shih Tzu in the air. All right, it's time to go. See you Friday.
Off the rails. Sounds good.
We're definitely out there. I'm barking, and we're trying to guess what kind of bark it is. That means it's time to go bye-bye. This show is, with all due respect to the late Ozzy Osbourne, is going off the crazy train rails. Just saying. It was an interesting, you know what? This might be my most fun show since we've come back. I think it was my most fun show. I really loved it. I hope y'all do. I really loved the Dat Date segment. I know it's a little too long probably, so I need to find a way to shorten it. I need to probably just tell you the local details and move on and not spend so much time with it. I don't do anything in a short period of time. Like, I was going to get off. So I'm going on Final Bet on Thursday on Fox 8 if you're here in the New Orleans area. I will be on the Fox 8 show tomorrow with Garland Gillen after the 10 o'clock news on Fox 8. I guess it's on. I guess they don't have a World Baseball Classic game. Anyway, but I'm recording it today, and I got to go. So I told Gabe we will be off the air by 12:30. No, we're not. I'm still rambling on. But now we're going after I barked for it. You want to know? $50 get you a bark. $100, I say University of, Chad, what I'm talking about. But it will wrap it up for Wednesday. I want to thank today's guest, Ricardo LeCompte, Gabe Henderson, even UBN, and you. But you're more than our guest. We love you, your family. Reminder to subscribe to the Dattitude YouTube page if you haven't already done so. Consider becoming a member. We have fun like this all the time. All the time here. Again, dedicate the show out to my brother-in-law who passed away a week and a half ago, Michael McBride. My grandparents, who would have been, if they would still be on this earth, although they'd be 100, they would be 124 and 119 years old, respectively, my grandfather and grandmother. They would have been celebrating their 102nd wedding anniversary today on episode number 482. Shout out to them. Gabe, on Friday, it's just going to be a regular ass show. Zach Ewing's going to be, I mean, I don't know, though. Who knows what's going to come up? Zach Ewing will be here. We'll have a lot of fun. Oh, yeah. If you subscribe, by the way, also click the little bell to receive notifications when we go in the live, which is every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 11 a.m. Central Time. You can also find us if you want to just listen to the show and you don't want to see me, you don't want to see me barking like a dog. Kyle Sherman says, even though I barked, it was a great show. Sean, I'll answer your question as quick as I can. Which receiver do I prefer in the draft? Lemon, Tate, or Bell? That's tough. You see, you put me on the spot. I didn't think about it. Chad says he really likes this great show, even though I wouldn't say it. Gabe once said Tate. I'll let you know. Friday the 13th is our next show. You think it was crazy today? I might be meowing on Friday. I mean, who knows? Maybe what sound does a frog make, Derry? What sound does a sheep make? All right. We will see you all on Friday. With that, I will say, take it easy, my friends.